Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the 1EA by 6A4 by 24 by C181 by RP5 by 622. Much of that is not on this part number at all because the factory will take the part number that you're somewhat instructed to build via the documentation, and they convert it into something else, a part number that they'll say, oh, you asked for this. Well, here's the part number. Okay, I could never have derived that part number, but this is the part number. That's what you want. Okay, great. And that's just how that works. So the part number that you see in this item has been broken down into this 1E SPL special, okay? 6A, I don't know what the 34636 means. I know the C413 means some... I think that means the cam. When we want an Adams Right cam, they tell you to use a C181, but I think that's the cam when it's a Thumbturn. RP5, obviously the cylinder collar ring package. And then 622, that's the finish. Okay, so all of that conspires to mean this. A funny length Mortise handicap compliant Thumbturn. That's what this is. The RP5 means these three trim rings that we have here. So it's all 622. It's black. It's powder coated black, and that's what it is. Now, why do we need such a long Mortise cylinder? Well, you generally have an unusual door thickness, and then the placement of the lock is somewhere within that unusual door thickness. It could be just a standard door, like a 2 1/4 inch thick wood door. It could be a door that's 4 inch thick and is comprised of many different, or several, or a handful of different layers in a sound transmission control amateur studio. And when I mean amateur, I mean I get calls from a lot of people who need to build the most well sound insulated room for whatever purpose, usually music related, and they're doing so by conducting a lot of research online and then procuring that material and then building it accordingly. So you'll have people that will take a couple of 1 3/4 solid core doors. Well, now we're at 3.5 inch, and then they layer cork or sound deadening material somewhere in the mix. So you can have unusual door thickness, but then where are you placing the lock within that thickness? So this client, and I don't recall exactly what we're doing because it took the factory a good clip of time to get these made up. This cylinder is 1.5 inches, and what you're going to notice is the factory does not calculate it from the underside of the head to the back of the cam. This is an 1.5 inch cylinder, I believe. Let me make sure, because it's been 2 months since I detailed this project for the client, and these cylinders wasn't Best's fault necessarily. In terms of the lead time, 6A4, 6A is the function. 24 is our length code. Yeah, 24 is 1.5 inches. Okay, I wanted to be sure. So the factory does it, Best does it different than other folks. Other folks go to the back of the cam. Well, I actually like the way Best does it in the sense that, well, however you arrive at it, I like the way Best does it because you're going to want to make sure that when you're installing something, you know where your brass body is going to end, and realizing that your cam thickness is 1/8 inch. You need to know on these unusual door thicknesses. I mean, an 1.5 inch cylinder, where else would you use this except something unusual? It's darn near the thickness of a standard door. When you're putting two cylinders together, and this job indeed has a small format interchangeable core housing on one side, and I forget that length. They're 24 code as well, so they're 1.5 inches. So this client's got an 1.5 inch cylinder and an 1.5 inch Thumbturn. So that door thickness has got to be at least 3 1/8 inch thick. You're going to leave a little margin. I like the way the factory measures it to the back of the cylinder body itself. It's just understanding what length you need to order based on where you need the back of the cam to reside within the lock body. These are going on Adams Right bottom rail deadbolts. So if the door was 3-inch thick and I was going to locate that lock in the center of the thickness of the door, right at 1.5 inches, let's say, you sure couldn't have 1.5 inch length cylinders because you're at 1 5/8 with this. So I would probably go back to like 1 5/16. So in the building here, we have been visited routinely by, I was about to say ghosts, but not here anyway, other places. A couple of palm rats, and there were two. There's one now, and I can hear him or her. You know, they fall into the wall and then get caught in there, and you know, waiting for something to happen. So a 3-inch thick door, I'm not going to go with 1.5 inches because I'll be at 1 5/8. So I'm going to want to cut that. I'm going to want to go to 1.5 inch thickness. I'm going to want to cut it by 1/8 of an inch to leave a small margin between the two. And then realizing that my cam thickness is about 1/8 of an inch. So 1 5/16 plus 1/8, so 1 7/16 times 2 is going to be 2 7/8, giving me an 1/8 inch margin between the two. That's great. You know, that would work. Because the other option would be 1 11/32, and you're not going to get that. So that's how I go about calculating. And I leave 1/8 of an inch between the two, and it see there's about 6 feet to the wall on this side of me, and that wall goes up 18 feet. He's somewhere in there, or she. So I've always left 1/8 of an inch, and it seems to work for me. But understand, Best doesn't do it like everyone else. It's the length of the body itself. Best has been around for 100 years. Frank Best, in fact, the founder of Best Lock, originated, designed, patented the concept of small format interchangeable core cylinders. And while he was very much, the word I'm looking for is inspired by the work of those that came before him, especially in the late 19th century, a technology called master ring. You know, we're going to do it the way Best does it. So this is a Thumbturn. This is a handicap compliant Thumbturn. This client's project does not call for a handicap compliant Thumbturn, but this is a public application, and this material is going to Italy. They're doing some sort of gate doors, so giving a little greater handle size is what I had in mind with making it a handicap compliant Thumbturn. That's what I would call a C181 on the back. I think they're calling it that not C3PO, the C413 is what I think they're calling it. It's just Adams Right cam. It's going to work that Adams Right MS1861 bottom rail deadbolt. The RP5 gives you 3 trim rings. Stack them in any series or not at all. The thicker one, it's looking like it's 3/8. The thinner one, about 1/4. Well, pardon me, the middle size. The thinnest, it's about 1/8 of an inch. So, you know, you got 1/8, 1/4, 3/8. You know, this is going to be able to allow the client to get done what he needs to get done. And I'm not going to force that down there too hard, because that material is just simply powder coated. That's what it's going to look like if you use that one of those trim rings, or you can stack them, as I basically just said. Typical 1 5/32 diameter, 32 threads per inch, which is considered ultra fine, which is what you're going to see in builder's hardware, because generally you're installing cylinders down to something that's rather thin. So lots of thread count as much as possible, so you get a lot of surface area holding that mortise cylinder in. Let's switch to the screen view now and take a closer look at the supporting documentation. Okay, so here we are. Not much to see here just yet, but let's switch to the cut sheet, and that will give us some data. So the cut sheet is 3 pages long, and what they're doing on the cut sheet here is they're just giving you the how to order. And Best does a tremendous job, as do her sister companies, Precision and Dorma and Kaba. They all do a great job when it comes to the how to order tables. In fact, if you are ever studying for the AHC exam, which I will be at some point in the relative near future, as soon as I finish the Certified Professional Locksmith PRP tests with Aloha, I'm going to be learning the Best and Precision product lines, because their how to order is really straightforward. Other manufacturers do a good job as well, but with Dorma and Precision and Best, it just all clicks. Kaba as well. So it's going to be a 1E cylinder, and we're doing, you know, a 6. That's just, you know, the way I specified it. They have a 1E SPL6. We got a function code of 6A4. Okay, so 6A4 is our function code. Let's go to page 12, and that's going to be seen in our product brochure, but we'll go to page 12. As we scroll down through to these functions, am I on page 12? Yes, I am. Okay. Okay, A2, A4. Turn knob, rim, or mortise. So I'm doing a mortise, which would be A4. And 1EA, good. So far, so good. It's a turn. It's a thumb turn with an A4, which tells me it's a mortise thumb turn. But it's a 6A4, so just 6 pin. And then 24 is our length code. So let's go back to our how to order on page 2. And then our length code is on pages 4 or 5. Okay. So here's our thumb turns. 1EA6A. Turn knob cylinder specifications. 1EA6A4 for a mortise, and that's what we're doing. An A2 would be a rim. Okay, so they're not giving you an option for a standard thumb turn, which was fine for me. Then your cam, forgive me, we're looking at our length code, which is 24. Page 5, where did it go? Oh, here it is, page 4. So we're doing 1.5 inches. 24 is our length code. After that, we go to a C181, and that's the cam. On the cam page, C181, that's our Adams Wright style. How do I know that? Well, the dimensional properties is how I know that. It looks like an Adams Wright cam, but these dimensions you can pull out of the Adams Wright catalog for them to tell you, here's the cam you're looking for. Because the best catalog's not going to put, this is the Adams Wright cam. They're going to give you dimensions. Then you'll take these dimensions back to Adams Wright, or you'll go from the Adams Wright catalog with the dimensions to the best catalog and determine the one that you require. And that's going to be the C181 in my part number. RP5, that's going to be our ring package. So they make an RP, okay? They make an RP3, and they make an RP5. I wanted the client to have all possible options, and I don't believe it's any effect on the price whatsoever. So that would be the RP5. And then, of course, the 622 would be a reference to the finish. And I don't know... Yeah, they don't list 622 here, but 622 is black. It's the new Vogue color, but it's not the new Vogue color. Black has been a finish since the 19th century. When it would have been called dead black japanned or bright black japanned. This would be 622 would be a flat black, but this is powder coated. So I wouldn't call it 622 because it's powder coated. You can tell with the texture. Powder coating is a very durable process to finish material in, so I think it's reasonably appropriate for hardware. But the movement of the black finish, and by some manufacturers other colors on powder coat, is because it's probably an easier process and maybe more conducive to the manufacturing process and might be more conducive to what the market really wants without realizing they want it, meaning a durable finish. If you look up the durability of powder coating, you'll find that it's very durable. They use it on strike plates as well. So a lot of... Forgive me, I was distracted. I thought that rat was going to come up and tap me on the shoulder. Powder powder coating is very durable, and what the public wants without them realizing what they want is a durable finish. That's what they're doing here. So there's also a link to the product brochure, and that's the entire catalog that I have been scrolling through, all things e-cylinder related. So whether you're doing housings for rim or mortise cylinder housings, or obviously Thumbturn material and all of the derivatives and varieties that can be done, including the installation tool for mortise cylinder housings, where you can thread the item into your lock if you want a handle. You can then turn the tool around and operate your lock with this end to make sure that it works correctly if you're waiting for your construction or your permanent cylinders to arrive. Tapered head cylinders, those look nice in certain applications, especially aluminum storefront. They can do 1.5" diameter, and 1.5" diameter mortise cylinders, and what I mean is this is 1.5". A standard cylinder is 1 in 5/32. Okay, where in the world would you use 1.5"? Well, that's called a jumbo cylinder, also known as a master ring cylinder, and coincidentally, the inspiration for small format interchangeable core came from the master ring cylinder, which was patented in about 1898, I believe, by a man by the name of Edward O'Keefe. And it was P.F. Corbin who then popularized the master ring cylinder. And the fact is that it's 1.5" diameter, and it's that way, it's that thickness for a specific reason. Well, there's enough 1.5", there's enough jumbo or master ring cylinders in the world that have been pumped into the market for the last 120 years that best clearly makes a housing to go into those Corbin, Russwin, Sargent, whoever else will make a master ring size mortise lock, so that best can shoehorn their key system into it. So good for them. Dummies, if you've got to blank something out. Lots of varieties. Best is incredibly enjoyable to work on because they bring to the market so many solutions that other people simply don't have. Special function cylinders, like a Brinks style cylinder. You might want to look up the term Brinks cylinder. They can do that as well. Cam locks. Obviously, it's enjoyable working with Best through their catalogs and their technical support. They're phenomenal people because of how well laid out it is. Let's wrap up this video on camera. In conclusion, whenever you might need an 1.5" or whatever length cylinder, whether it be Thumbturn or mortise or a rim cylinder with a really long tail piece, and that length code, that length chart goes all the way up to 6 inch. Okay, so that's what I was saying earlier. Best brings the solutions to the market. Why you have it is why you have it. You could also have this because you've got a standard 1 3/4 thick door, and then they're applying, a 1-inch fabric panel on one side so everything blends in. Sure, you're going to need a longer cylinder because you can't center that lock in that 1 3/4 plus 1 inch. You've got to put it on the unequal extension, an unequally extended lock. So this would work, realistically on a door that would be a reverse bevel door, probably, for whatever reason. And, they can do it. Obviously, the other finishes as well, your brasses, your bronze, your chromes, oil rubbed, and of course, black. Nickel, I didn't mention nickel. I'm partial to Best, and I wish I did more business of Best locks, and it's because I enjoy hardware, I enjoy it from a technical perspective, and I enjoy working with a catalog that's very well and logically laid out. That's subjective. Objectively, their technical support folks are just top-notch in every regard. 100% guarantee that they respond with an answer, 100%. And above and beyond the call, as far as I'm concerned. I had recently a call into them about a client's combinator that wasn't cutting correctly. It was, when you take the setup stroke, it was actually producing 2 spacings worth, so that when you cut the key, you were actually 1 space too deep. And if you pulled that key out 1 pull position, it will now operate. The fella over the phone was able to dig into the archives and send me some data that's not published and get the client working to the point where they can cut their keys by whatever modification was able to be done on the combinator in the field. The client's going to send us the combinator to go to the factory for a complete rebuild once the immediate issue is resolved. But it was just great tech support. You know, the client had people moving in. I need to cut keys. I spent thousands of dollars on a Best combinator. It needs to work. Best supported it superbly. Any questions on what I'm going to call a 1EA by 6A4 by 24 by C181 by RP5 by 622 or any other Best product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.